joining us now. And Marc, I don't understand why you're not in the studio. When did you sign this agreement and why was I not part of it?
Kath, I've had a couple of chats with the CEOs. I've managed to pull some strings. This is us testing the technological barriers and boundaries here at Newzroom Afrika, and I have no doubt that this is all going to go incredibly smoothly. We're looking forward to having a chat with the Sports Minister, Mr. Nathi Mthethwa, who I believe is on the line. And it's been a massive day for the world of sports in South Africa from a footballing perspective, because the news that we have been waiting for 90-odd days now, with millions of fans around the country waiting to see when the PSL will finally make its heroic return. We received notice earlier on this morning from the ministry, in fact, that the Department of Sport has now given the green light for the PSL to return. To speak to us more about this, of course, we're delighted to have the Minister of Sport, Mr. Nathi Mthethwa, on the show. Mr. Minister, good evening and thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Marc, and to your viewers, thank you so much for having us.
So, Mr. Minister, as mentioned, we've been waiting 90-odd days for this announcement. Let's just confirm the news then that you have indeed given the green light for the PSL to resume. But for those that will be over-eager, I must remind them that there is still a lot of work that needs to be done before we actually see play on the field.
Absolutely. We had to go through the process and interact with health department, especially NICD, which has health protocols athletes have to observe. For instance, you can't just wake up tomorrow and go and train. People have to follow the process of being tested so that we cap the spread of the virus. Since other people would be asymptomatic, you will not know whether this person has a virus already. So we've got to ensure that we follow those protocols and then be ready to train with everybody without putting anyone at risk.
Mr. Mthethwa, you mentioned the teams need to be subjected to the health analysis, of course. Have you been in discussions constantly with SAFA and with the PSL to ensure that whenever play does resume, that all of the clubs are well aware as to what is expected of them to ensure that play can resume safely?
Well, firstly, Marc, you've touched a very important point. We have seen this time around SAFA is the mother body, with NSL working very close to each other. There is a joint liaison committee which has been working on the plan itself, because what has been approved today is the plan which comes from both SAFA and NSL, and was subjected then to health authorities and so on. We've been in constant communications. We've had to attend some of the meetings of the Joint Liaison Committee. We've had to have meetings with both the president of SAFA and the chairman of PSL, and in some instances meeting them individually. But what we have seen is this working together, that the plan is not a one-party plan. It's a joint plan for football, which is progress, particularly from the point of view of football, and we want to see that happening going forward.
Mr. Mthethwa, is there a fear that we could be opening football too soon? I think every single time one of your colleague, Dr. William Kize, steps onto camera to address South Africa, the country is on tenterhooks waiting for the new numbers. We've seen in New Zealand they've relaxed regulations, and after some Super Rugby matches, some more positive cases came. There was a tennis exhibition match recently hosted by Novak Djokovic, where following that tennis tournament, positive cases came about as well. Is there a fear that the PSL could open the doors too soon?
Well, there is a fine balance, Marc. We are walking here. On the one hand, is our eagerness to save life and our responsibility to save life. On the other, is sustaining livelihood, meaning that there is no economy which will be shut down forever if there would be any livelihoods in that nation, as it were. So that fine balance is important. That is why each and every step we are taking from the side of sport, we are taking together with health. Would never go ahead and leave health behind. And remember this time around that we are still talking about opening for training, because football is one of the contact sport. It's unlike non-contact sport which have been opened for playing and so on. So here it's phase one, which is more about training, because you know that no athlete will just wake up after 3 months and go to the field of play without training and so on. So that's where we are now, and that's where we are concentrating. But even before we talk of fully blown training, we have to go through this necessary process of ensuring that we do not spread the virus, having not tested the players.
Mr. Mthethwa, I remember catching up with Tulani Ngwenya, the chief medical practitioner for SAFA, and he mentioned these biologically safe environments that you've alluded to tonight as well. And I'm just wondering the cost behind something like that. I've been told that it's somewhat of an Olympic-style village that the players will be put together and will house them to try and curb the spread of COVID-19. From a cost perspective, is that something that government needs to put money towards? Is that government then is that money then put together from SAFA or the PSL? Who then will put up this biologically safe environment?
Well, the Joint Liaison Committee came up with this concept of biologically safe environment. And I must say that from the health point of view, to us as sport, it excited us. It was a foreign concept and so on. From the point of view of sports, of health, health felt that this is a necessary process. In fact, they put it that football has actually exceeded the expectations by thinking ahead, putting safety first, putting protection and saving of lives first. So we are part of it because we have been presented with it, and we've been assured from the health authorities that it's a model which can help to cap the spread of the virus.
And Mr. Minister, one final question from me. Now that we are speaking about football, I know that SAFA has been in the headlines recently with regards to some of the vice presidents. I just wonder if you've been in discussion with them with regards to some of the ongoings on the board. Is that a discussion that's been had with you? There seems to have been some information that's being spread around. I wonder if you've had an opportunity to sit down with the president of SAFA and get some clarity on what is taking place with regards to those vice presidents.
What we don't do is to meddle in operational matters of federations. All the federations we have, including the confederation. We will from time to time get briefing, because mainly our point of entry is mainly with the confederation, which is SASCOC. And we'll continue to do that, because we do not want to find ourselves in some, I think we'd be too tired to get into operational matters of all the federations we have in the country, as it were. So I think that from where we are currently, we're focusing on the football itself and how it goes with the opening of the training and so on. And if there's something or where we're supposed to be intervening, we will actually hear from the confederation, which is SASCO.
All right, well, Mr. Minister, we'll leave it there. I know millions of South Africans will be delighted to have heard the news today that the Department of Sport has indeed given the green light for football to resume. I just need to remind those South Africans that there is still a lot of work that needs to be done before play will officially resume. The Minister of Sport, live here on News at Prime, Mr. Nathi Mthethwa, thank you for your time today, sir. We continue to count down and await the return of football. A lot more to come tonight, Kath. We look forward to as well, celebrating the 1995 anniversary of the Springboks, who today won their very first title against the All Blacks back in 1995. That coming up in the second hour of the show.